Good evening. I am the Keeper, and you are listening to the Deadlight Codex. This is the account of a phone booth that only calls the dead. In the heart of a forgotten town lies an old phone booth tucked beside an overgrown park. It's a relic of a bygone era, mostly ignored, until whispers of its peculiar properties began to resurface. They say it can connect you to the afterlife, offering voices from beyond the grave. But those who answer pay a price that cannot be undone. The phone booth had been silent for years until a new resident, Emily, moved into town. She stumbled upon the booth during an evening stroll. Intrigued by its out-of-place presence, she felt drawn to it, as if it called to her. The townsfolk had warned her of its ominous reputation, tales of messages from the dead, and the dire consequences that followed. But curiosity gnawed at Emily, and she found herself returning to it, unable to resist its mysterious allure. One night, Emily mustered the courage to step inside the booth. The air was cold, and the phone's receiver felt unnaturally heavy in her hand. As she hesitated, a low hum emanated from the phone, growing in intensity. She pressed it to her ear, and the static slowly gave way to a familiar voice. It was her grandmother, who had passed away years ago. The voice was clear, as if she were standing right beside her, filling Emily with both warmth and dread. The conversation was brief, yet profound. Her grandmother's soothing voice offered words of comfort and love, but also a cryptic warning. "Beware the cost, my dear," she had said, before the line went dead. Emily stepped out of the booth, shaken and confused. She tried to rationalize the experience as a dream, a manifestation of her deep longing. Yet, deep down, she knew it was real. Her grandmother had reached out from beyond, but at what cost? In the days that followed, strange occurrences began to plague Emily's life. Objects in her home moved on their own, and whispers echoed through the halls at night. She couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, a constant prickling at the back of her neck. The townspeople noticed her growing paranoia, whispering among themselves about the phone booth's curse. Emily felt her grip on reality slipping, as if the boundary between the living and the dead was dissolving around her. Desperate for answers, Emily began investigating the phone booth's dark history. She learned of others who had received calls, each with their own tragic tale. One man claimed to have spoken to his deceased wife, only to vanish without a trace days later. Another heard his mother's voice, and soon after, his house burned down under mysterious circumstances. Each story painted a picture of despair and misfortune, a pattern of doom that followed those who dared to answer the call. Emily's obsession with the phone booth grew, consuming her every thought. She returned to it nightly, hoping to hear her grandmother's voice once more, but each visit left her more unsettled, the whispers growing louder, more insistent. Her friends urged her to leave it alone, fearing for her sanity. Yet she couldn't let go, convinced that the answers she sought lay just beyond the static. The booth had become her lifeline to the unknown, a tether she couldn't sever. One evening, as Emily lingered by the booth, she noticed a figure watching from the shadows. It was a man, his face obscured by the night. He approached slowly, introducing himself as a former resident who had once received a call. His voice was low, filled with regret. He warned Emily that the booth was a trap, a gateway to something malevolent. Those who answered the calls were marked, forever bound to the darkness that lay beyond. The man's story shook Emily to her core. He described the gradual descent into madness, the feeling of being watched, and the inescapable doom that followed. He urged her to leave town, to break free before it was too late. But as he spoke, Emily realized she was already ensnared. The booth had its hooks in her, pulling her deeper into its web. She felt trapped, torn between the desire to escape and the irresistible pull of the unknown. Despite the warnings, Emily's visits to the booth became more frequent. The whispers grew louder, now an incessant chorus echoing in her mind. She felt herself slipping away, her reality unraveling at the seams. Her dreams were filled with images of the dead, reaching out to her, calling her name. She was no longer sure where the line between life and death lay, or if it existed at all. The booth had become her world, a nightmare she couldn't wake from. As Emily's grip on reality loosened, she began to notice changes in the town itself. Streets seemed to curve in impossible ways, and familiar landmarks appeared altered or misplaced. Neighbors she once greeted became distant, their faces unfamiliar and cold. It was as if the booth's influence was extending beyond her, warping the very fabric of the town. The line between her dreams and waking life blurred, and she feared that soon she wouldn't be able to tell them apart. That's where the account ends, whether by choice or otherwise. Emily's story serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurk in the unknown. The phone booth still stands, a silent sentinel in the forgotten town, waiting for the next soul to answer its call. If you ever pass through, remember her tale and tread carefully, for some stories don't end. They just stop being told.